I've covered SpongeBob on this channel before, being Revenge of the Flying Dutchman and Battle for Bikini Bottom, and those videos did surprisingly well. They're easily my best performing reviews, and I'd be lying if I said that had nothing to do with this video's creation. However, I thought it was a little too soon to cover another SpongeBob 3D platformer, but then I remembered those aren't the only games I grew up with. I was never that big of a PC gamer, especially as a kid. Don't get me wrong, I have a Steam account now and plan on getting a beefier PC down the line, but I still prefer consoles, and that was even more the case when I was a kid. But like I said in my Revenge of the Flying Dutchman video, if it had SpongeBob's face on it, I had to have it. And despite not being a PC gamer at all, this still led to me buying a lot of SpongeBob PC games. And I thought it'd be fun to talk about those. Oh, and before I start this video, I guess I should say that this isn't going to be nearly as in-depth as my other videos because I only finished one of these games. And these aren't the only PC games in the SpongeBob franchise. This is only a small portion of them. There's a ton more. Oh yeah, and I guess I should probably record on my computer desk like I did in my Minor Ultra Adventures video. So yeah. Video time. The first game I have is SpongeBob Saves the Krusty Krab. This game was actually lost media until a few years ago, so knowing I played a bit of lost media before it actually became lost is kinda cool. Though, it'll become pretty clear there's definitely better pieces of lost media to experience. Yeah, this game sucks. I distinctly remember this was the first game that taught me, yes, video games can indeed be bad. I mean, I probably played bad games before this, but I was a stupid child that had very low standards, but this? I can tell it was bad even with those standards. I think my main issue with this game is just how ridiculously repetitive it is. All you do in this game is wander around looking for Krabby Patties, and to my knowledge, the area you're in never changes. The amount of time and Krabby Patty locations change, but not the actual level you're in. I get that this game is going for more of an arcade feel, and games like Pac-Man only ever have one level, but Pac-Man's gameplay is fast-paced and challenging. This is slow, and the only possible challenge that comes from this is not knowing where the last Krabby Patty is, and wandering around a level aimlessly is far from fun. I guess there is a little bit more of a challenge in this game in that the controls suck. This game has tank controls for some reason, making a lot of the platforming way harder than it has any right being. I heavily relied on these power-ups that make you run faster and jump higher so I can avoid platforming. You can also play as Patrick and Squidward, and I very much appreciate that, but their sound effects when they land are kinda wrong. Like, that's the noise SpongeBob's shoes make when he walks. The audio in this game is overall pretty laughable. A lot of the voice clips are ripped right from the show, complete with the background noise. The song that plays is a constant loop of the FUN song, and that gets a little ear-grating, and Squidward says Krabby Patty whenever he picks one up, and I find that hilarious for some reason. Krabby Patty. The next one is simply titled 3D SpongeBob SquarePants. This one's based off the SpongeBob movie. You can play as SpongeBob and Patrick driving around the Patty Wagon exploring Bikini Bottom, featuring plenty of areas from the show itself, and even some movie-exclusive areas like the Krusty Krab 2 and the Thug Tug. In this game, your goal is mainly to earn as many of these Neptune's crowns as possible, which is admittedly kinda confusing considering getting just one of those was the whole point in the movie, but whatever. You earn these crowns by vandalizing Bikini Bottom property or trying to get a high score in mini-games or driving missions. These are usually loosely based off events from the movie, like you have to pop all the bubbles before they leave the Thug Tug's bathroom so they don't find out you're a bubble-blowing baby. The tutorial for this one made me laugh because Dennis is the guy that tells you what to do. You know, Dennis, the assassin that was sent to kill SpongeBob and Patrick and did this.
We'll be beaten senseless by
This game isn't actually bad. Exploring Bikini Bottom like this is actually kind of a treat if you're a fan of the show, and thanks to the missions, the game kinda feels like a very, very light Grand Theft Auto. Like, it's not the greatest thing ever. I'd say adults are likely only to enjoy this game for maybe 30 minutes at the most, and that's if you're a fan. But hey, you can find it for free in the lost media, so I'd say it's worth a go. The actual mini-games aren't great, but exploring Bikini Bottom is a good time. There's even this super easy out-of-bounds glitch I found as a kid and still remember it to this day. You can use the Thug Tug as a ramp to just fly out of bounds. Just don't drive off the map, the game likes to crash if you do that. Oh, and This was the only game in this collection to have some kind of controller support, so I'd say that's some sign of quality right there. I remember when I was a kid, this game was available in our computer class, but for some reason you needed to sign a permission slip in order to play it. But the thing is, I didn't remember getting that permission slip, so I think I just missed that day of school. And despite me so obviously being the biggest SpongeBob fan in class, this still led to me not playing the game, and I was the only one to not play the game. And yes, I'm still mad about this 14 years later. The next one is SpongeBob's Obstacle Odyssey. I didn't actually play this one as a kid, but I did play the sequel, so whatever. This is the most basic platformer you can possibly play. There's no enemies, just pure platforming. The levels are only seconds apiece. I admittedly didn't play far at all. I got to the slide level and I couldn't beat it due to the jank. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything by not playing more, considering absolutely nothing about this game is interesting. This could have easily not been a SpongeBob game, considering I get more Bubsy 3D out of these levels than SpongeBob. I've been avoiding talking about graphics so far because I'm very well aware these games were made for very low-end PCs from the early 2000s, but oh man, these character models are disgusting looking. Yeah, not a good game, or probably not worth the viruses I could have gotten by tracking this game down. This sequel is a lot better. Still not great or anything, but better. There's a lot of visual improvements, including significantly better character models and stages that kinda resemble SpongeBob locales. There's actually a story this time to go around too. It's told in the form of a comic strip. It's not amazing or anything, but it's still cool to see. Plankton tricks SpongeBob, Patrick, Mr. Krabs, and Sandy into this time vortex thing, and they have to get back by traversing through obstacle courses in various time periods. I like the setting of this game enough, though I don't think it ever goes all that far with the whole time travel thing, but it's still inherently better than anything from the first game. This game still isn't good, despite all my praise, I guess. It still has a lot of major issues. My main problem is the levels. So many of them have like no danger whatsoever, and the only challenge comes from trying to get every bubble before the timer runs out, which is a thing you definitely don't have to do. Oftentimes it's not even challenging, it's just like, oh, follow this big row of bubbles because why not, that's fun, I think. There's some interesting levels, like the slide levels rely on some momentum, kinda reminded me of a classic Sonic game, but I didn't start getting decent levels until I was maybe a third of the way through. There's also multiple characters, all with unique stats, but outside of the tutorial, I have no idea how to unlock them, and I got through a pretty good chunk of the game while 100%ing each level too. And I don't think I unlocked them at any point. There's also the fact that much like the first game, this isn't the most polished thing ever. Patrick's running animation so obviously doesn't loop properly, and I don't even know how to describe what happened here. It's still significantly better than the first game, and I actually enjoyed this one enough to beat it as a kid, so there's that, I guess. Actually, before I talk about this one, I should say that this is the only game I played that didn't work with Windows 10. So I had to download a patch by VG Voodoo, which made the game run much better, but added this annoying watermark on the bottom right corner of the screen. But aside from that, it worked well enough and was pretty painless to set up. Anyway, this is probably the best game I'm talking about today, and I'm sure at least a few people watching this has played this at a young age. Employee of the Month was easily my favorite as a kid and was my introduction to point-and-click adventure games, and to this day is the only point-and-click game I have under my belt. And I promise I plan on fixing that at some point. The game starts off with this movie set that heavily implies SpongeBob and friends are actors to a SpongeBob TV show, and the game immediately forgets that's even a thing and reverts back to SpongeBob being a normal guy. No idea what's up with that, but whatever. Before that happens, Mr. Krabs gives SpongeBob his junk mail disguising as a reward for being the Employee of the Month. Or year? The junk mail containing 2 tickets to Neptune's Paradise, a theme park based on King Neptune himself, prompting SpongeBob to become ecstatic and immediately inviting Patrick. From then on, the game is mostly just SpongeBob trying to get to Neptune's Paradise but failing miserably each time. Like this dude has to ride a bus through a deadly storm, only to have that bus flung into rock bottom thanks to the storm, forcing SpongeBob to find a wizard and get him to stop the deadly storm by exposing a corrupt weatherman, just to free up the bus schedule so he can catch a ride back to Bikini Bottom, and use Sandy's rocket ship to fly to Neptune's paradise, but thanks to Patrick's inherent ineptness, the ship crashes, landing into a town called Waverly Hills, forcing SpongeBob to somehow fill up an oxygen tank in the bottom of the ocean because the ship runs on that for some reason, and once SpongeBob finally does that, then, and only then, can he go to Neptune's paradise. You know what adds insult to injury? Every main character gets to enjoy Neptune's paradise, even when SpongeBob nearly died several times for this, and Mr. Krabs is the one that gave those tickets away in the first place. Poor SpongeBob, you people didn't earn it. Sorry, I got a little passionate there. Like I said earlier, this is a point-and-click game, and a pretty decent one. It's nothing amazing if you're, you know, an adult, but it's great for kids. Yeah, it's not particularly hard. I mean, I was able to beat it as a kid, and I was not the brightest child. Playing this again, I was only stuck on 2 parts in the game. The first time was in rock bottom. You need to get this guy's can, and I assumed you needed to trade it for something, like you do with literally every other object in the game. No, turns out you just need to straight up steal it.
Sorry I took your can.
No problem. I hate you.
The second time was in Waverly Hills. I didn't realize you can just walk to the left here. Not my proudest moment. I get the game being easy, it's for kids and all, but I feel like there should still be more puzzles. Most of the game is just a fetch quest. You see an item that you need, talk to the character that owns it, and they tell you they'll give it to you if you just give them this other thing. So you look for said thing and find someone who has it, and they'll tell you they'll give it to you if you give them another thing. Repeat until you find the root. Okay, that's definitely a bit of an exaggeration, but it's still not too far off from what the game is. There is puzzles, just not as many as there should be. Again, I get it, for kids, so it makes sense to have the more simplistic fetch quest game design approach, but I feel like there's a better balance that they just didn't hit. I did enjoy this game quite a bit as a kid, and I feel like that probably had more to do with my love for SpongeBob than the game actually being an engaging experience. Admittedly, this still applies to this day. Yeah, I enjoyed this game, but like I said, I think that has more to do with the fact that I'm a fan of the show than anything else. Because this game does a surprisingly good job representing the show. The game uses pre-rendered backgrounds that look like they were drawn for the show. The cutscenes have this cel shading to them, making them look closer to the show than even Battle for Bikini Bottom, and many areas from the show make it into the game, including new ones, and I honestly feel like they fit SpongeBob pretty well. The game could be kind of funny too at times. Like, the writing isn't nearly as strong as what you'd expect from actual classic SpongeBob, but it still made me chuckle a few times, and I'll commend it for that. Heck, even the voice acting is great. Everyone is voiced by their actual voice actors, even Mr. Krabs. No imitation Krabs in this game, except maybe there is. Okay, I have no idea if this is actually the case, but I swear I could hear Joe White's Mr. Krabs in the final cutscene when he laughs. And for some reason, just like Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, they have a French narrator but not the French narrator, which makes no sense considering they have Tom Kenny for SpongeBob. Speaking of Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, I swear they reused some of SpongeBob's voice clips from that game.
I have the feeling today will be like no other day! I have the feeling today will be like no other day! So this is downtown Bikini Bottom.
I guess my only other criticism regarding the voice acting is the original characters don't really sound like SpongeBob characters, especially this guy that just sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes, you are in rock bottom. My condolences.
I can't understand your accent.
I think my favorite thing about this game is just how weird it can be. Like, you need to talk to a magical wizard to stop him from causing a perpetual storm, or how Mr. Krabs is selling everything he owns.
Good grief, he's naked!
Including his clothes, or how you get kicked out of a fancy restaurant just because SpongeBob ordered a Krabby Patty and the waiter was just that offended. Or how about the part where you get these glasses from a stoner dude so you can break into Squidward's home and invade his dream while becoming Squidward yourself, so you can ask to borrow his clarinet so you can bring it out to the real world and charm a snake out of SpongeBob's fishbowl. I know this show can get weird, like really weird, but what the I love it so much. The weirdness of this game has a lot of charm, and I definitely remember this stuff from when I was a kid. Overall, a good game, but I would only recommend if you're young, have some kind of nostalgia for it, or just a hardcore fan of the show. The respect to the source material really carries this game, and it still means there's some enjoyment to be had, but only if you're a fan. Unlike something like Battle for Bikini Bottom, which I wholeheartedly believe anyone can enjoy, fan or not. Wow, this really ended up being more of an Employee of the Month video than just SpongeBob PC games in general, didn't it? I guess I just had a lot to say. Don't really think that's a bad thing. But yeah, none of these games are really all that worth playing. I mean, like, 2 of them are, I guess, if you're a fan of the show, but even then, you're not going to get that much enjoyment out of them. So, yeah, I mean, it was still fun regardless going back to these games after all these years. It's been well over a decade since I played them. So, before I end this video, I do want to bring up something. I apologize for not making any videos in the last few months. The life stuff got in the way, and no, it's not just because I got a job, there's other stuff that got in the way too. Not gonna get into that, that's personal, but what I will say is I haven't been completely inactive because I actually have a second channel now that I share with 2 of my friends, Dylan and Jacob. I've had videos very similar to what you would see on that channel, on this channel, specifically Let's Play videos. Those videos are going to be uploaded on that channel from now on. But we mostly do commentary stuff, as in we talk over pre-recorded footage, and so far we have games like Sonic 1, Donkey Kong Country, Mario 1, and we haven't started recording at the time of making this video, but we have I Love You, Colonel Sanders planned. You know, that Colonel Sanders dating sim. So if you like my videos, you like Let's Plays, that sounds interesting to you, check it out. Though, if you do that, please tell me if this video sent you there, because with my very limited following, I'm genuinely curious if anyone is convinced to check out that channel from this video. Anyway, so I guess that's it. And, bye.